Okay, thank you, John. There's nothing like setting me up for disaster. So, good morning to you all, and a huge thank you to ISJ for inviting me. Chris and I flew in last night. There's been too much coffee and too much sugar this morning, so let's hope we stay on track with this one. So we've just heard from the panel discussion. I thought they were going to steal all of my thunder about the role of security as a business function and how security can align and support or even help just strategic decision making. I now want to take that discussion one step further. So credentials and metrics, the connection between security and the business. So irrespective of where I deliver basketball games internationally, access control, be that for fans, staff, vendors, partners, media, stakeholders or government entities, is perhaps the greatest worry that keeps me awake in the early hours of the morning. Who's allowed into the arena? What is their purpose? What are they bringing with them? Where should they be permitted to go? There are multiple case studies across all sectors of when access control has been breached or failed, and the impact of that can be catastrophic. Lone actors, extremist groups, the list of potentials is endless. Their intention, to exploit the presence of large groups of people in a confined space, from protest groups attempting a court intrusion and disrupting our live broadcast, to a more sinister act. Access control is a common denominator to minimise that risk. So, as live sport and entertainment continues to reach new territories, with that comes increasing risk, challenging environments, more of the unknown, and ever-dynamic geopolitical considerations. I've been lucky enough to be involved in the creation of a professional sports league in Africa. Today I'll be sharing my experiences of the challenges faced, including building a credential system for access control, and how that system is now providing invaluable metrics to help influence business decisions and the strategy for the growth of the league. My aim is to share with you how I've attempted to ensure that security in today's world remains dynamic, multifaceted, to be relevant, supportive, and make contributions to the business, especially critical when the business I'm concerned with currently is a startup. So why is the growth of sport so important? Sport has immense cultural and socio-economic benefits. It plays a significant role in gender equality and is an employment-intensive economic activity. Overall health and well-being can significantly be improved by sport. Sport can truly be accessible to everybody. Each day I work in the world of sport, I'm amazed. From the grassroots projects to social responsibility initiatives to taking NBA teams across the world, including here in the UAE. The impact that sport has, not only on the athletes, can literally change lives by providing tourism, employment, training, investment, and in turn impact to the GDP of a nation. Working with the NBA, I've observed firsthand the impact that sport has had, and most notably across Africa. So the African sports market has a current value of $12 billion US, and that's set to rise to $20 billion US by 2035. The growth of the talent on the continent and the financials are unquestionable. So now focusing on basketball and basketball in Africa. A sport that requires a ball and a hoop, and is the second most popular team sport in the world. Wherever I travel, I will see a Lakers jersey, and the NBA brand has global recognition. Every young person I meet wants to be the next LeBron James, Sue Bird, Steph Curry, and now Caitlin Clark. The 2023-24 NBA roster has 125 international players from 40 countries and territories across 6 continents. 16 of those players are from Africa, and a further 35 players on the roster have African roots. I've just left Senegal, where in today's market we have a sellout at the Dakar Arena. Only 3 years ago, we had a few hundred fans attending our games, and that was considered a success. So I'm just going to give you a taster of what sport and basketball is doing on the continent of Africa.
I can almost feel it in my head now. Might as well go ahead and take the crown. Gotta go all the way. Gotta go all the way.
Ce qui nous unit, c'est le basket.
My goodness, Chiquero.
Too shit like I'm AI. 2K play like I'm AI. Stay too cold to the daylight.
C'est magnifique!
Gold in his blades. Ain't no going hiatus. That boy going for greatness. That boy gone like you can't locate. It's a rap
if you boys don't take. I bounce with it, gon' say it like they can't pay. Trophies, a line wall in a gold case. The way that he drop off is a cold case. Bridge in the home scene, that's a gold statement.
Turning out. I can never ever let you stop me now. Gotta go all the way. Gotta go all the way. I can almost feel it in my hand now. Might as well go ahead and take the crown. Gotta go all the way. Gotta go all the way.
The Estoril of Senegal take on Al Ahly of Egypt in a fight to be crowned king.
You can't stop me now.
And the winners of the 2023 Basketball Africa League are Al Ahly.
So the Basketball Africa League is the fifth entity of the NBA and the first professional basketball league in Africa. I've been working with the BAL since it began in Kigali in 2020. We took 12 teams to Kigali during the pandemic to begin the story of the incredible startup this league is, and currently midway through its fourth season. The BAL is a Pan-African league featuring the top 12 clubs from 12 African countries. It is the culmination of decades of work by the NBA and FIBA to grow basketball in Africa, making the game more accessible and provide a predictable pathway for players to maximise their potential. In Season 3, the 12 teams collectively featured players from 23 countries across Africa and Europe and the United States. For this season, 12 teams from across the continent participate in 48 games with qualifying rounds in South Africa, Egypt, and currently Senegal, with the playoffs and finals at the end of this month in Rwanda. The BAL has created not only the basketball, but live entertainment, grassroots basketball development, social responsibility initiatives, and educational programs. The BAL has taken basketball to new locations, breaking the boundaries for the delivery of live sport, but also to provide teams from across the continent to travel and compete in a world-class event that's broadcast globally. With that comes a large-scale security operation and all the risks that you would anticipate that goes with it. So risk tolerance. The security challenges are and will continue to be complex and diverse whilst building the BAL. To be a world-class sporting event that balances the fan experience with the highest levels of security and safety. The risk tolerance is key for events attracting thousands of fans, and as we all know, as the risk increases, the tolerance decreases, and the security costs escalate. So our arena standards provide the template for security, but implementing that raises challenges in every country we can compete in. And I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but local security services and the law, the availability of resources, be that technical or physical, the language, the pre-existing event delivery methods, arenas not designed for basketball, fan demographics, and most importantly, the local threat, risk, and vulnerability. In a compact 3-month season with the restrictions of all startups, security must be resilient, reflective of the threat environment, and adaptable to the changing array of risks, whilst always being financially responsible. A significant part of the security plan is developing access control. Sporting events are the interface of so many unknowns. Thousands of fans, vendors, staff, media, local security services, and all this has been impacted by the local norm for access control. So the task, to create and implement a consistent plan wherever the league would travel across the continent, and I can say with absolute confidence it's been a phenomenal learning curve. So, building an access control system. We're fully aware of all the impressive advances in technology providing many options for access control on the market. Sadly, it wasn't an easy task for me. Working across Africa, challenges of power supply, consistent connectivity, language difficulties, credential equipment and consumable availability, shipping times between countries, budget constraints are all the factors that limited what type of credential we could use. BAL games are broadcast to over 200 countries live, and the power supply by the arenas must be focused on maintaining that feed. At all costs, the game must go on. The access control plan, including credentials, had to be able to adapt. A system fail means a visual credential displaying permissions and identity is still required to maintain the integrity of that security plan. So what was created? A system that has a scanning function with a visual backup. The system was dynamic, mitigated the challenges, had resiliency to location and minimised the risks whilst all upholding the stringent arena safety standards of our league. But then I thought, why stop there? How could what essentially is a security function actively contribute to shaping the strategy, financing and planning for the BAL as it continues to grow. For a startup like the BAL, data is finite but crucial. How could the credential be used as a tool to collect that data and provide metrics for analysis?
Credentials, the connection between security and the business. The sports industry's worth is expected to reach $623 billion by 2027. In an ever-changing geopolitical climate with emerging threats to the safety of events, effective, resilient, and location-considered access control has never been more important. Credentials remain fundamental to this control. But in a metrics-driven world, can credentials provide a strategic input that could help shape businesses and growth?
So why are these metrics important? In sport, the focus is always upon the fan, their experience and how to increase the fan base. But what do we know about the people who are responsible for the operational delivery to put these games on? The staff, the vendors, the partners, the media, the stakeholders, they all have a credential. What metrics could I collect that would provide tangible data points to fundamentally steer the way the BAL plan and execute future seasons? Could security have an input that helps shape and drive the business growth? I have responsibility for operations and administration, and that includes security. In short, I'm lucky enough to look after all the functions that spend the money. How many of you in this room have gone through recent budget planning, where you get told, we're cutting your budget by X, but we want you to increase the footprint, the activities, and the number of travellers by Y? Could I use a credential to help influence the Y to make the X manageable and so to continue to uphold the highest safety standards? So where to start? What could I easily measure as a start to this data collection and metric analysis to determine the viability of this idea? So what does everyone in this room do and what does everyone we work with? We travel and we eat. So travel, the credential system has a function enabling users to register their travel. I can collect data of when people fly, the flights chosen, and then monitor the dates that they're booked. Security can track the traveller, but what other information does this provide? We're all guilty of having our preferred airline with the best loyalty point system, but is that the most cost-effective and supportive of the business need? For a 3-month season managing upwards of 1,500 return flights, the registration process could influence traveller behaviour with specified flight paths and dates of booking. By controlling travel bookings, reducing the flight cost by only $100 per person is a saving of $150,000 over the season. But in addition to this, can this data then help us see if there's an airline that meets more of the needs that we have for the flights of all of our staff? Could this instigate a potential partnership for the BAL? And knowing where everyone is flying to and from means increasing data. So food. Across the footprint of a sporting event where operational staff will be in market for extended days involves a complex catering plan. Every individual is provided with 3 meals a day. And we heard about compliance. Where do they eat? How much do they eat? And how many times a day are they going to keep going back to the same place? The credential track this. The credential scanning function in this season has been used for eating locations as an alternative form of payment. Only halfway through the season, the data is remarkable and instantly available. Those eating above allocation, peak times, favoured locations help reduce waste, provide accurate needs for the suppliers, and ensures compliance. Also, from a health and safety perspective, if we have food-related sickness, that can be tracked back to the source. These are simple examples, I appreciate that, but the concept was proven for the operating environment. So what is the future? Could the credential be a one-stop collection mechanism while still being the primary means of access control? The limited data collected for our current season, although small, has enabled savings of in excess of $1 million already for the next season and helped shape the operational plan. So what are the future possibilities? Could it be on transport, analysing when everyone uses transport, working hours? We heard from the panel, tracking attendance, but also detailing where staffing may be too heavy or too light. But could this principle be extended outside of basketball? Conferences, analysing the behaviours of attendees, what was popular and what was not. Crisis situation, aid supplies, distribution of emergency resources in real time. Not forgetting as the programme expands, there's an increasing awareness around data protection and the storage of information, but any major credentialing platform receives security certifications following stringent cyber testing. But should this be a blocker? As any technology develops, so must the security of the system. So in the future, is there a time where the fundamentals of what I've attempted to illustrate to you today are transferred to other security control platforms, such as facial recognition? This is not just about an individual and their access rights. This is considering a time where the analysis of data could be instant and impacting the way that businesses, NGOs, and even hospitals operate in real time. Where you have any number of people with differing access, roles, and responsibilities, you have data. Data provides metrics that help steer informed decisions. So to close, in challenging environments, an access control system needs to be able to work and have a backup in the event of critical system failures, and I've suffered a few over the past 4 years. Is what I've spoken about to you today new? No, it's not. The panel have already given you huge amounts of information, but the aim has been to show that there's more than ever security has an ability to support the business in a world where finances frequently continue to be the primary focus. We've heard how investment in security technology can contribute to strategic objectives, and how we do that, the boundaries are endless. Economics is not the only measurable. The BAL is a startup. What could the future hold for its data collection, and how could this be transferred across other business sectors? So I leave you with this quote from probably the best NBA legend of all time, Kobe Bryant. Swap the world's basketball player for security professional. Be innovative, think big, dare to push the boundaries of the role and support that security can play in the business. So thank you for listening.